Testing for YouTube. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, welcome everyone. We will call to order our regular meeting of council and start by acknowledging and recognizing that we work, live, and play in the city of Port Alberni, which is situated on the unceded territories of the Sechot and Hupaches First Nations. We do have an agenda in front of us. Council, are there any late items? Seeing none, any late items from staff?
No late items, Madam Mayor.
Okay, would somebody like to move approval of our agenda? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And on to adoption of minutes. We have minutes from the special meeting and minutes from the regular meeting held on January 26, 2026. Move to adopt by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. We have one delegation today, which is an introduction of our Business Development and Property Advisor and Deputy Director of Finance.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'm really pleased to be introducing Dave Osborne, the city's first business development and property advisor who started in the role Feb 2nd. His work will be focused on creating and running non-tax revenue sources such as marinas and campgrounds, while also ensuring council's goals of fair market value and highest and best use of city-owned properties are achieved with our leases. Dave is no stranger to having to dive into a new position where there are unknowns. He became our recreation programmer in March 2022 when COVID-19 was still a concern and municipal recreation activities were not taking place. He built and led a large team of casual, contract, and seasonal staff for a variety of community-oriented programs, services, and special events as we came out of hibernation. While doing that, he raised the bar for what we were making available. His organizational skills and speed of work are legendary. And he's also got some great social media savvy. Some of you may have seen a video of him racing about the community, trying his hand at the many offerings of his previous department. Our takeover of Clutha Haven Marina has many unknowns. We are exploring the pros and cons of charging for parking rather than for launching. The roundabout is still being constructed, impacting traffic and parking. Sea-cans at the site will become available for rent for the first time this spring. Sechot and Hupaches First Nations will be leasing out a portion of the marina uplands as they work to extract more value from their fisheries. And people will start arriving for a major fishing derby 3 weeks from now. I'd like to digress for a brief moment with a thank you to the Port Authority for their operation of this site over the decades and for their willing assistance in the transition. It may be a bit corny, but I observed that Dave's first and last initials spell out do. And that is what we have observed and experienced in his first week in this economic development portfolio. At an interdepartmental meeting last Wednesday about transitioning the marina's operations, we identified many matters that had to be addressed, including the crucial need for a communications plan. 24 hours later, and without having been asked, but fully aware of the constraints we were facing, Dave delivered one to our inbox that is worthy of the communications profession. In summary, I'm excited to be working with and learning from Dave as he takes this role on.
Perfect. Can we hear me now? Awesome. Great. Just wanted to say thank you all today for bringing me on board as the Business Development and Property Advisor. And thank you, Pat, for the kind words. I'm really excited to transition from community recreation into an economic development portfolio. As you're all aware, I have a deep passion for the Alberni Valley, and I look forward to being able to do as much as I can to continue to progress our community into a positive direction. Thank you all today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here today, Dave, and we're really excited to have you on board. Thanks, Pat, for that wonderful overview and introduction. Yeah, really looking forward to having you in this role and seeing what we can do together.
Wonderful.
Thanks. Okay, and I'll go to our CAO now to introduce our new Deputy Director of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we were fortunate to secure Tamara Nelson. She comes from the West Coast in finance roles that include time with the district and Youth Huathat First Nations. So we're quite fortunate to have that coverage for this position, considering that we are rolling into year-end review and finishing up budget and all our annual reporting. So yeah, Tamara is starting today as her first day. So I'd like to introduce Tamara Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the introduction. I'm excited to be here. I don't have a lot to add to that, but it's first day in, it's all going well. And so I think I'm ready to roll up my sleeves. I understand pre-audit preparation and things, so I'm just happy to have the team that is assembled already, and I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here and looking forward to having you in this role as well. Thanks. All right, Council, we will move on. We have no unfinished business today. So on to staff reports. We have one item, and it is quarterly departmental reports. First, the report from Development Services.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. So I will do a brief summary. So the Development Services Department has continued to fill staff positions over the last quarter. So we have now been successful. We had one Planner 1 start in Q3 and our second Planner 1 start in Q4. And just today is the first day for a planning technician that we were looking to fill due to retirement. So really excited to have these new young people earlier in their professional career join us. There'll be a substantial amount of training and but very excited to have them in this position to help fill out the department that, as you know, we've had quite a few vacancies over the last little while. So in order to provide service and capacity to do development review and community planning projects. I do want to let council know that staff continue to work with Matthews West as we undertake the pre-development work on the SOMAS lands, and that's progressing on a few different fronts. So that continues to move along. At the end of Q4, the city issued 125 building permits last year for the year with the value of $36 million in construction projects, and that included 67 new residential units. I do want to note that there was several larger projects that the building permits were ready to be issued, but for a variety of reasons on the applicant side, they have not gone forward yet. We understand some of them are still, hopefully will start this year. That did lead to less revenue than we had expected for 2025, but we are optimistic that 2026 will be strong on that front. The report also summarizes a number of staff planning reports that came in front of council through the Q4 period of time. And I'm actually going to ask our manager of planning. He will go over. We've developed and added some development application charts for council. This is new. We haven't added this before. And I'm just going to ask Brian McLaughlin, the manager of planning, to review those with council. And then both of us would be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So in Q4, the planning department received only 2 applications. We received an application for a rezoning and one for a development permit. It's really common for us to see a slowdown in Q4 as we roll into winter, and usually see a pickup in applications as we get into spring building season. In total for 2025, though, we did receive 8 rezoning applications, 5 OCP amendments, 6 development permits, 5 temporary use permits, 3 development variance permits, and 3 development variance permits and 13 applications for subdivision. And the charts in the back of the report, which were mentioned by the director, I'll just run through them fairly quickly. The first report chart in Figure 1 shows the number of applications we received and completed per year over the previous 5 years. And we've been compiling these stats every year for the past 3 years, trying to take a look at the trends over time and get a sense of where we're at. Post-pandemic, the number of applications received are fairly consistent, and the number of applications completed per year are fairly consistent. We received 36 new applications in 2025 and completed 26 applications in 2025. Figure 2 shows average OCP and zoning application timelines. Since 2021, there are some distortions in the data due to outliers. Some applications took a very long time to process, but generally, processing time for OCP and zoning amendments come from 20 months in 2021 down to about 11 months in 2025. Similarly, in Figure 3, we see a reduction in processing times for development permits and development variance permits. This is largely due to process improvements that we've made internally within our department, and in a big part really due to the development procedures bylaw adopted by council in 2023. That concludes my summary of the report, and I'm happy to help with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Councillor Solda.
A quick question regarding the SOMAS mill. So what's the next steps? When will the developer be talking to the public, have public consultation? Because I know they had mentioned that they would be doing that. So next steps, we've got to this point now, timeline.
So as I indicated, there's a variety of different steps that are going on right now. They're continuing with some more advanced flood construction level work, as well as some further environmental work. And they have engaged an architect to essentially work towards that conceptual master planning work. And that's what, when they're at a stage that's part of what will then come out for some public conversation and delegation. I don't have a schedule yet, but certainly we can reach out to them to see if we can't provide a bit of an update on what that schedule might look like and moving forward. But that's that conceptual master planning work, I think, is what will look to be presented to the community in the near future.
Super, thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other questions or comments from council. That's great. Thank you very much for the report. We will go to finance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a brief overview of the report. Finance Department and IT Department are support departments, and we work hard at supporting all the other core services throughout the city. For the fourth quarter, Finance focused on assisting and supporting budget managers and the CAO through the financial planning process. First meeting occurring in September. Preparation for year-end is well underway for us as well. So now we are drawing our focus onto our financial reporting requirements for our year-end. In procurement, we are working on a number of different RFPs, invitations to tender. Some of them include Franklin River Road Supply Main Replacement, Environmental Consulting and Services and Environmental Monitoring, Josephine Sanitary Force Main, Somas River Crossing, and dock replacement waterfront areas, including Haven Marina. For grants, we're kind of coming to an end on our grants for the financial reporting year. So we are now starting to review, looking at the Canada Community Building Fund and Climate Action Incentive Program as well, so we can do our required reporting. Financial systems, process improvements. We continuously do improvements throughout the year in our department. Right now, we're focusing on collection opportunities for accounts not able to flow into property taxes. Also, digital improvements for accounts payable. We did move to having PDF invoicing and signing and electronic storage for current invoices as they come in. As we move into the new year, we're going to look at how we can upgrade those into having an approval process for the Director of Finance as well. We also have a electronic billing campaign for taxes and utilities. So this year we were able to have 469 new registrants for the program, bringing our total to 3,489 residents registered for electronic billing. We always do encourage all of our residents to take a look at our My City services. You can pay your dog license, your billing, your business license, utilities and tax bills can be viewed through there. All other sorts of things related to any of your dog licenses or billing information history can be seen there as well. So we encourage residents to take that opportunity to sign up. We did have a tax sale in September and 4 properties were sold. We have 1 property that has since been redeemed. In our utilities section, we are continuing going through in November, December, and preparing our final billing for the 2025 season. That did go well. The utilities department does spend most of that time looking at new meter updates and ownership changes and preparing the billing. Within asset management, we are continuously working on the maturity of the city's asset management program with improvements to data quality, governance, and financial planning integration to support a long-term asset sustainability plan. Over the quarter, completion of data consolidation and validation audits were done across all major asset categories. Advancement to the city's fleet asset management policy and drafting fleet equipment guidelines and developing standard operational procedures for repurposing fleet and equipment as well as end-of-life decision-making were done. Completion of an asset management replacement plan project took place. This was partially UBCM funded. The plan provides long-range replacement forecasting to support multi-year capital planning. This will help improve visibility of renewal pressures and strengthen capital prioritization and grant readiness for the future. We also looked at our TCA road inventory and looked at asset pavement condition assessments, and we're linking our financial values to those assessments and also looking at risk quantification for use in long-term planning. In information technology for the fourth quarter, they focused on critical technical infrastructure and network system support across the organization. That includes cybersecurity updates, so research and development for network security monitoring. They also did an external network penetration testing that was completed and successful. They also look at review and finalization of a cybersecurity policy. For server infrastructure and related updates, they have continuation of the server migration project, as well as the HCI server solution purchased in 2023. Enhancing connectivity by installing TELUS Pure Fiber Internet, which was critical infrastructure, was updated, as well as some hardware and network services for the ICE plant. We have done continuous software updates, which includes a migration of our Microsoft Office 2019 to Office 365. We've also assisted with onboarding recreational departments to their new Explore Recreation mobile app, which is still in process, and prepared HR employee position status change SharePoint sites to help onboard our new employees as well. Other items that we've worked on include the insurance policy updates and appraisal completion. They set up all 2026 operational and capital projects, as well as cash flow and investment planning has been a focus to maximize returns in the declining interest rate environment. And besides that, looks like that we now are going to be looking forward at implementing our 2026 to 2029 plan by rolling over all of our budget software so we can start our new year reporting. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And before we go to questions, I should just note that Rosalind is here as our Director of Finance. And I know that she didn't get an introduction because she is not new, but of course new to this role. So congratulations, Rosalind. We're happy to have you in it. And we didn't actually note that we have a new CAO today either, but we do have a new CAO, Andrew, here as well. Again, no introductions, but really happy to have you both moved into these new roles. And thank you very much for the report, Rosalind. Are there questions from Council? Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much to the Director of Finance. Just a question on the tax sale. So the city has 4 properties on tax sale. One property has since been redeemed. Is that the original property owner able to get their taxes in order, or does that mean it was sold to the person who bid on it?
Thank you for the question, Madam Mayor. No, that means that it was redeemed by the property owner.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none? Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to fire.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. Before you today is the Q4 report for the fire department. As you can see, in the all calls category, we were up 3% over Q4 of last year. For structure fires, we were up 8%. Motor vehicle incidents in the city up 16%. Motor vehicle incidents outside of the city up 50%. And our medical first responders in Q4 were down 2%. We're excited to let you know that the FireSmart grant that was applied for jointly by the ACRD as well as the City of Port Alberni was approved in Q4. They've subsequently hired 2 individuals that will oversee the FireSmart program. We actually had them in the fire hall today and are making plans to have a successful FireSmart season moving forward. In the communications area, probably in part due to the Mount Underwood fire, we did see a 45% increase in the number of people that follow the Port Alberni Fire Department account, which puts us over 13,000 followers there. And of course, Q4 was year end. And so we ended the year with 2% increase call volume over 2024, which was just 19 calls short of our busiest year, which was the year prior in 2023. Structure fires, we did have quite a jump last year, so 57% increase in structure fires in 2025 versus 2024. A 1% decrease in the combination of in-city and out-of-city motor vehicle incidents. And our first responder calls did see a 7% increase, which makes it the busiest year that we've had for first responder calls, despite the reduction in the orange and yellow delay calls, which we reduced that service, as you recall, last year. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Seeing none, great report. Thank you very much. We'll move on to infrastructure services.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here today to present the Q4 report for infrastructure services, and I'll begin with the engineering department. On the first page of my report, you'll see metrics of our kind of day-to-day stuff that we do regularly with respect to BC1 calls, internment work at the cemetery, as well as some other field investigations and inspections. In addition, we're doing quite a bit of background work involving standardization of processes related to permits and development permits and trying to optimize some of those processes and standardizing them. On the next page, you'll see a table summarizing current output for the master planning process. And just as a quick side note, our engineering manager will be presenting a report to council, I believe, later this month on an overall update for master plans. But just as a quick summary right now regarding the transportation master plan, we're currently about 70% complete with a number of metrics listed there with the pavement assessment being finalized. We've done some draft truck routes and some recommendations continue to be developed and drafted and vetted by staff. The Parks, Rec, and Culture master plans, similarly, currently at about 75% complete with the round 2 public survey issued and promoted, and the first draft of master plan received for staff to review and finalize. With the wastewater and drinking water master plans, we're currently still in the early stages with about 40% complete under the wastewater plan and 10% on the water. I will touch on that we have, it's later on in the engineering one, but we did hire 2 new project managers that started today, as a matter of fact, that will assist greatly with our team in getting a lot more of this work completed and assisting with the engineering manager and myself as well. On capital projects front, the 3 big ones for this year, the Franklin River Road water main replacement, we have completed design, we have posted the tender, contractor has been awarded, and the construction is expected to begin in April of this year. For the Josephine Sanitary Force Main, similarly, we have awarded contractor for Phase 1, the directional drilling under the river. Phase 2 is about to go out for tender shortly, and we will have a schedule update for that shortly as well. The Argyle 1st to 3rd Ave redevelopment, including between 1st Ave down to Harbor Quay, the design has been finalized. We've shortlisted contractors, and we're in final stages of the tender being reviewed and awarded later this month. And then just as a final note for the Bird Street redevelopment, that was substantial completion was achieved with the project completing on time and under budget, with a few minor cleanup items to be finalized this week. A couple other ancillary things that were going on in engineering. We have in Q4 completed the Kitsuxis dike repair along 2 sections of the embankway. And we also have done some traffic controller upgrades at a couple signal intersections throughout the city. I will pause there briefly just if there's any questions related to the engineering department before I move on to Public Works.
Councillor Solda.
Just a couple of questions regarding the, there was a gas incident on Beaver Creek and River Road, the roundabout. Was that our piping or however it works, so technical stuff there?
Through the chair, and thank you for the question. The Highway 4 roundabout project is a ministry-driven project. There was unfortunately an incident where the contractor did strike a Fortis BC gas line. That has been addressed and is currently being investigated for root cause, but that is not a city-driven project.
Okay, and I assumed it was something like that. The other one is when we do our street lights, there's a lot of, on the accessibility committee, there's talk about audible signal lights, you know, because when you go to the bigger cities, you see the countdown, they do a countdown as you walk across the street. Are we looking, we have some, but are we looking at it as we replace our lights, and are we looking at changing and upgrading?
And through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Solda. It was recently brought to my attention, the question from the Accessibility Committee, and I did provide some information back concerning, depending very much on the existing infrastructure at a location, it sometimes is very cheap and easy to upgrade, other times it's just not compatible, and we'd be required to replace and upgrade a lot of the existing equipment. With all that said, moving forward, whenever we do any upgrades to signal intersections or even looking at adding in pedestrian activated signals, those are things that we can consider and add into to make it much easier and more functional as we upgrade these.
Okay, well, we do have an accessibility committee meeting coming up in the next couple of days, but the other question is, what about for the Johnson Road area? Because it's not our lights in that. Have we investigated if highways will put that in? And we should, because it's a longer crosswalk. It's much more serious, dangerous crosswalk. So it's something to look into.
Through the chair, and thank you for the question again, Councillor Solda. I'll do my best to answer that one. It's a bit of a big one to attempt, but I will share that we recently, the engineering department did meet with our transportation master plan in conjunction with some representatives from the ministry regarding the Johnston corridor and just some of the interface work that's happening between our master plan and the ministry's jurisdiction along that corridor. It was reminded and brought to their attention again, this is a really high priority area for the citizens of Port Alberni and the Valley in terms of safety, and they are looking into options for potential upgrading, but I can't and don't want to speak for what they will or will not do.
And myself and Councillor Solda actually did meet with ministry staff as well a couple weeks ago and reiterated the same on that specific intersection. Councillor Solda.
And one more thing regarding Johnson Road. So we're getting into summer and the traffic's going to get heavy again, especially now with the roundabout going in. There'll be backup of traffic, we know that. Even then, those crosswalks, whether you have the bump outs and that, you still can't see the people walking. I mean, I've driven there late at night and it's pure dark. It's raining. It's totally black. I didn't see somebody coming right in front of me, crossing that bump out area. If there's a backup of cars, people are hanging over there is no space between intersections areas. And I actually come to a complete stop at every crosswalk in that area because you can't tell if somebody's crossing that road until they're right in front of you. And somebody's gonna get hit and it's going to get worse before it gets cleared up. And I know MOT talked about that they would look at it and they would work with us, and it's time to work with them because summer's coming around the corner here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Okay, seeing none, moving on.
Great, thank you, Chair. I will now move on to the Public Works Department and provide you an overview of the work completed in Q4 of 2025. From the front end for their administration management group down there, I just wanted to highlight a couple of the key activities. There was quite a bit of work put into solidifying a couple new policies where we were perhaps doing work in the same manner but just didn't have it solidified with a policy. But in and around our winter roads, sidewalk and parking lot management policy, that has been finalized. And that essentially just ratifies our priority routes and how response times and all those good things, as well as a spill response policy dealing with, on the roadways whenever there's an accident or anything of that nature, just kind of solidifying what steps and procedures we follow there. Our operations manager also put quite a bit of time formalizing the bus stop and shelter program with BC Transit and looking at solidifying getting funding in place for standard BC Transit shelters. And it comprised renewal and standardization of numerous stops that you'll see taking place around the city. Moving into the water utility operations, you'll see some key activities there, just some routine tasks that we do. Again, a lot of the stuff they do is similar from month to month with the water quality testing and ensuring that our drinking water is safe and potable. There was quite a few hours put in meter reading in Q4, as well as a number of meter repair and replacements occurring. You'll see on the following page just some of our team working on doing a water tie-in to the Pierce Road subdivision, new 6-inch main being installed. And then moving on to sewer utility operations. Again, similarly, a lot of the activities occur on a regular basis. We had quite a bit of catch basin maintenance activities occur in Q4, as well as inspecting sanitation mains, approximately half a kilometer. The Roads and Drainage Department, one of the larger groups down at Public Works, you'll see the list of tasks that we completed in Q4. A lot of the activities we complete are seasonal and will vary depending on the time of year, but in Q4 you'll see quite a bit of work was put into lane maintenance and doing vegetation and grading and shoulder maintenance as well as into boulevards and medians and preparing for the rainy season and getting into that. You'll also see on page 10 of the report and page 11 a couple of the new pedestrian safety improvements that we've done around the city. So there was a new crosswalk installed at Bishop Avenue and Craig Road, as well as on the following page, the new speed humps which were installed in front of the Sumas Elementary School on Compton Road. They were generally well received by the public, but our intentions with these are always to promote safety and to make sure that everybody gets home safe. And the resistance we did encounter from some of the public feedback was in and around not being able to drive fast through a school zone. So with that said, moving on to fleet and solid waste, you'll see again under fleet is a lot of the routine tasks that our mechanics have completed, and they service every vehicle we have across the city, from cars all the way up to garbage trucks and otherwise. I'm happy to report that we finally have a fully staffed team down at the fleet department, including the return of one of our charge hands. And then under the solid waste report, I just put in the year-end summary of the total waste collected by type in tons there in that graphic. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much for the report. Questions from council? Seeing none. Great report. We will move on to the Parks, Recreation, and Culture reports.
Hello, Mayor and Council. This is the Q4 report for Parks, Recreation, and Culture for the from months of October to October 1st to December 31st, 2025. So the fourth quarter of 2025 saw significant activity across all divisions. The Parks Department focused on seasonal operations, including planting 3,200 trees, leaf cleanup, and winter preparations. Recreation delivered major community events such as the West Coast Winter Wonderland and Youth Fright Night, while seeing strong registration numbers in hockey and skating programs. Facilities completed critical upgrades, including gutter replacements at the Echo Park Fieldhouse and flooring improvements at the museum and Echo Center. Culture advanced the HEART program audit and community investment program review, while also hosting festive community events. Our notable communications for this quarter focused on promoting seasonal events and operational updates. Some notable engagements included our Heritage Commission, which engaged nearly 1,000 visitors at the Alberni District Fall Fair to collect survey responses on heritage planning, event promotion for the Light Up and Sail Past festivities, which were also used as a promotional opportunity for the Hometown Takeover initiative, as well as public consultations for our HEART program, audit and CIP review, and also further engagements with the master planning program. In all, the 2024 was a period of high community engagement and critical infrastructure maintenance. And looking forward to Q1, we are in our Parks Department, we're already underway with our early spring cleanup, trail bridge work, and ongoing snow and ice control. In recreation, we've planning to launch our spring break camps, our teen nights, and reintroducing the adult swim lessons. Under facilities, we are in the process of completing the multiplex chiller upgrade, as well as the McLean Mill safety improvements, which are about 85% complete. And in culture, we are preparing for the 40th anniversary of the Port Alberni Abashiri Twinning Agreement in May of 2026, as well as continuing with the development of the interpretive signage at McLean Mill in cooperation with our partners through the Chamber of Commerce. In all, we would like to thank our community members and partners for helping to make all these events and initiatives a success in Q4, and we look forward to continued good and positive work for Q1 and beyond. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the report. Councillor Solda.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the programs, swimming, hockey, et cetera, all those kind of programs. I noticed there's quite a large waiting list on a lot of these programs, waiting to get into the program because registration is full. Some of the programs, can we not offer more, especially swimming? To me, we're surrounded by water and swimming lessons are really important. So can we not offer more programming in certain programs? Or is it just, we just don't have the capacity? I just think it's such a positive that these parents are putting their kids into our programming and they're on the wait list, and some of the kids will never get an opportunity because if they're on the waiting list all the time, especially for swimming, and they can't get on, then it's really frustrating. So I'll quiet and let you answer.
Yes, thank you. We do recognize that there is a significant wait list for a number of our programs, and this also coincides with some of the work that we're doing in auditing our registration and seeing where the registrations are coming from for programming. We're currently putting these reports together and are looking forward to present to council a more comprehensive report that will answer these questions very shortly.
Super, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much for the reports. And I believe that brings us to the end of the quarterly reports. Would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. On to bylaws. Item number 1, we have final adoption of the 2026 to 2030 financial plan. I'll go to our CAO.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So obviously this is for adoption. We still have the opportunity to make amendments to the financial plan up until, well, the end of the year. But this is really just setting up what we need for the balanced budget for 2026 in order to set up for our tax rate. Bylaw that will be coming forward once we get the revised roll at the end of March. So with that, council can approve the financial plan as recommended here, and we do have amendments coming forward. Obviously, we have Clutha Haven Marina and a few other items that will be coming forward, but those will be all non-tax implications. So those would just be amended into the first amendment that we would be bringing likely in March as far as the amended financial plan for the 2026 year. So with that, I hand it back over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Would somebody like to read the motion? Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the City of Port Alberni 2026-2030 Financial Plan Bylaw number 5138 be now finally adopted, signed by the Mayor and Corporate Officer number 5138.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And on to correspondence for action. Item number 1 is a letter dated January 19th, 2026 from Ridgeview Health and Performance requesting access to McLean Mill National Historic Site for the annual McLean Mill 10K. Councillor Haggard, would you like to read that one?
I would. I'd like to move that council authorize Ridgeview Health and Performance access to McLean Mill National Historic Site on Sunday, March 29, 2026 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the purpose of the 10K running event starting at the McLean Mill and following the route as outlined in the attached map, subject to the notification of emergency services in BC Transit, consultation with all affected businesses and residents, provision of a traffic safety plan completed by a certified professional, including qualified traffic control personnel as required, provision of standard liability insurance in the amount of $5 million, and review by event organizers of the report of the Study Commission of Inquiry into Community Event Safety dated June 26, 2025.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any comments? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Item number 2, we have the Francophone flag request. And this is a letter dated January 22nd, 2026, requesting council fly the Francophone flag during the month of March. Councillor Mealy.
Motion as, my French is terrible, I'm sorry, so. I just didn't want to, I did not go to French immersion, I'm sorry, so. As written, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Dame. I also opted to not read the French part on the agenda for a reason. All right, moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none. Sorry, my only question was just because it is a month, which is longer than we typically do, fly a flag, is this intersecting with any other requests that we have? Or, I mean, I guess if it does, we can always approve those requests and just change it out for a period of time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It does not conflict at this time. However, I suppose we still could get proclamation and flag requests that may result in a conflict. So if you'd like to manage it that way, or of course, council is always able to just choose a period of March that they wish to fly the flag.
Thank you. If council's comfortable, just swapping it out if we need to. If there's another request that comes in, then I'm happy with that. Okay, then as written on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. On to proclamations. Item number 1, we have an email dated January 28th, 2026, requesting that March 26th, 2026 be proclaimed as International Purple Day for the BC Epilepsy Society. And I will make that motion as written. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And we have an email dated January 31st, 2026, requesting March 21st, 2026 be proclaimed as World Down Syndrome Day in Port Alberni. Would somebody like to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And correspondence for information, I'll go to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a resolution, council's resolution that was sent to the UBCM executive regarding forestry industry and sustainable fiber, and they're just letting us know that it was endorsed. We have a response to the letter sent by the city to BC Ferries regarding the booking changes. Central Vancouver Island Crime Stoppers has provided their 2025 summary report. We have a follow-up letter from the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport from the UBCM convention meeting. And lastly, a copy of a resolution from the City of Kamloops regarding review of the Heritage Conservation Act, asking that local governments be involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Any items councillors would like to speak to? Okay, seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And for reports from in camera, I will go to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have authorization to execute a lease agreement between the City of Port Alberni and the Canadian Mental Health Association for a 6-year term for City Parks caretaker residences located at Roger Creek Park, Russell Park, Williamson Park, Blair Park, Klitza Park, and Paper Mill Dam Park to include decommissioning of the Paper Mill Dam caretaker house once vacant. And direction for administration to prepare a response to the Town of View Royals December 4th letter expressing council's potential interest in joining a coalition of municipalities and regional districts to evaluate and potentially pursue a coordinated judicial review of provincial housing legislation, including Bills 44, 47, 13, 15, and M216, subject to additional information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to council reports. Are there any items councillors would like to highlight from reports? Okay. Seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And new business, we have one item, and that is from Councillor Haggard. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a difficult few weeks for some members of council and staff and many residents of our community, but I truly want to thank everyone who has voiced their concerns regarding the proposed supportive housing project. Residents must never feel dismissed, labeled, or judged for their concerns. It is completely reasonable for residents to ask how this will affect safety, property values, and neighborhood character. But it is important to know that a safer, healthier community is one where everyone has a place to live and the support needed to be successful. However, I sense that residents are not seeking to block this proposed housing, but they are seeking assurance that it will be managed wisely. So I'm proposing that staff and council do a tour of the supportive housing units in both Parksville and North and South Nanaimo. The supportive housing units in Parksville came about as one of the recommendations from a homelessness task force and is owned by the city of Parksville, so I think that would be a really unique story to hear. And I was also told that the former mayor of Parksville lives next door to these housing units. The two supportive housing units in Nanaimo that I'm interested in seeing are located, the first one is near the neighborhood of Costco, and one is located close to downtown. We need to ask the service providers what has gone well and the challenges they have had so they can work now to mitigate any challenges that may come about. It may also be useful for council and our staff to speak to representatives from the cities of Parksville and Nanaimo to ask about impacts on the surrounding neighborhoods and businesses. I would also suggest having this conversation with the executive director of the Downtown Nanaimo Business Association to ask about impacts on the downtown businesses. It is important that we know the good and the bad now and be prepared for any possible scenarios that may possibly occur. Therefore, I'd like to move that council direct administration to coordinate council site visits to supportive housing locations, ensuring that council has the necessary information to form a lease agreement with BC Housing for the proposed supportive housing project on 2nd Avenue. And I just want to clarify, I did not include speaking to representatives from the City of Parksville and Nanaimo, the Downtown Merchants Association, in the motion, because I don't know if that's something that staff would prefer to do on their own. I know sometimes it's hard to coordinate schedules. You can do it by Zoom call, like whatever your preferences are. So I did not include it in the motion for that reason, but I think it is important that council does do the site visits.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Councillor Dame.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an interesting one because it's not directly necessarily related to Second Avenue development, but it does mention it in the motion. So out of an abundance of caution, I will recuse myself to continue with what I have been doing so far because my business shares a boundary line with the property. So I'll recuse myself for the vote and then I'll come back.
Just point of clarification. I think the overall conversation is to inform council on supportive housing. It doesn't have to be exactly that project. So and I apologize, but maybe it's a point of order, but I apologize. I just don't want Councillor Dame to just leave just yet because I believe that the information is good for all of council to understand supportive housing in the community as a whole. I understand that it does say Second Avenue. Maybe the mover will take that away because I would hate for Councillor Dame to not be part of this conversation.
I would just say that this motion is structured in a way that does tie it to Second Avenue because it talks about negotiating the lease agreement. So for that reason, I think that Councillor Dame, if you're most comfortable recusing yourself, I think that is the consistent approach. Of course, it's your decision. And I would just say, though, that if this passes and a tour is arranged, you should be included on that tour. That's the information gathering piece of it.
Sure, yeah, and that was my thoughts exactly as well. If it's appropriate, I would very much like to attend this just for my own educational purposes. I think that this is going to be, good for any supportive housing, but just the specific motion does tie it to Second Avenue, so I'm going to step out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, comments on the motion. Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Councillor Haggard. Just wondering, just the particular wording of the motion says ensuring council has the necessary information to inform a lease agreement. I'm wondering what the councillor anticipates being the necessary information that we would be gathering from a tour.
I'm not sure yet. We'll find out when we get there and you can ask those necessary questions. So I don't have anything specific in mind at this point.
Councillor Solda.
Madam Mayor, do we actually really need to have the proposal in there? Could we not just change the motion to go and take a look at supportive housing locations instead of having the whole thing? I mean, is it really necessary?
I think what you're suggesting would be to basically take out everything after the comma, ensuring council has the necessary information to inform a lease agreement with BC Housing for the proposed supportive housing project on 2nd Avenue.
Exactly. It's just that we haven't seen a lease agreement from them, and we can gather any information we want from anywhere, but having a tour of other facilities and others, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for this particular project. So I would like to make a motion to take that out.
Okay, is there a seconder for the amendment? Second. Okay, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Comments on the amendment? Councillor Haggard?
I actually would prefer to keep it in, but that's up to council.
Councillor Patola.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I would support that amendment. Certainly cleans up, excuse me, the motion to specifically being that we're going to supportive housing locations. Apparently, what we do when we get there will be a surprise to all of us. But I understand that the intent is to gather more information about this types of programs that are available and how they have been implemented in other communities. I definitely agree that more information is always better. So I would support the amendment.
Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, appreciate it. And I would support the amendment as well, and just merely going back to my comments about, I think this is good information for council to have on any supportive housing moving forward. So it doesn't have to be these tours could inform council to make a decision 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or whoever's sitting here. But it's good information, especially if staff's included as well, so we know what the challenges are, what the pros are, and that going forward. And again, it kind of cleans it up, and if the amendment does pass, I believe we could ask Councillor Dean to come back actually as well, so that kind of works.
Other comments? I don't know if we've ever had a situation where we've had someone recuse themselves and then invited them back partway through the conversation. I don't know how that really works, but I agree. Councillor Hager, did you want to speak any more to the amendment since it is your motion and maybe even your initial intent with it?
Well, there's been a lot of conversations in the community about how to support a lease to ensure that we get what we want in the community. So I think what we learn on this tour is going to be very relevant coming up when we do actually get down and work with BC Housing on that lease agreement. So I think the two are very interconnected. They're not separate.
Councillor Solda.
And just to speak on the amendment too, if BC Housing decides, oh, we don't want to do this here, and so I'm just saying, because we zoned the property, we didn't agree totally, we haven't seen the lease or anything like that. So we zoned the property. So if BC Housing backs off on this property and say something else goes on, we at least have some idea of other types of housing that's out there, whether it's this one or whichever one it is. So I just think it just cleans it all up. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments on the amendment?
Call the question.
Okay, call the question on the amendment. On the amendment, all in favor? Opposed? Amendment passes. So that council direct administration to coordinate council visits to site visits to supportive housing locations is now the motion.
Point of clarification, if I may ask corporate services, if Councillor Dame can come back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In my opinion, the main motion that's now on the floor to be discussed has removed the Second Avenue piece, and he would be permitted to come back in.
Councillor Dame, do you have any comments? Okay, so Councillor Dame, just to keep you in the loop, an amendment was made to the motion, it passed to basically take out everything from the motion after the comma. So it is just that council direct administration to coordinate council site visits to supportive housing locations. Okay. Further comments on the motion? Councillor Patola.
Great idea.
Thank you. And I guess, I assume that the intent is to facilitate this quite rapidly and quickly, regardless of whether it's tied to the specific application or specific lease or not. So I guess just corporate officer, if we can try to get this facilitated as soon as possible, that would be great, assuming it passes. Okay, seeing no further comments on the motion, all in favor? Motion carried. Any other items of new business? Seeing none, on to question period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council on decisions or recommendations made during the course of the meeting. Up to 3 questions are permitted per speaker. Mr. Anderson.
Just want some clarification. Did Councillor Haggart say that the public were in support of this new housing project?
I did not say that, no.
Okay, so I thought you had said, and I said, no, it's not what I've heard. Okay, so there's still a lot of dissension regarding that particular building in that place, correct? It's a question.
I think absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
thank
all
you.
aware of the
Thank you.
public comments on
Yeah, I
both
haven't
sides
been
of
at
it,
a lot
so
of
for sure.
meetings lately, so I'm just clarifying. Okay, another question that I'd like, maybe you can't give me an answer right now, but I think today we've got, for example, 4 new positions in council. And I'm not saying they're not justified or, not, or whatever. I'd like to get an idea of how many new positions that we've had, let's say, in the last 4 years is probably a reasonable period of time. What the staff and allotment is, let's say, 3-4 years ago, and what they are now. And is there any documentation that what these positions are, what they're being filled? You may not
Yeah.
have that now, but I would like to be
For
able to
sure. So
see.
I can't give you obviously a full answer on that right
Yeah.
away, but one thing I will note is that although we introduced 4 new people in positions, only one of those was a net new position. All of the positions that are added to the city do come through a public process. Andrew, I'm not sure if we have information. I know that we use, or in the annual report, there is information on staffing numbers.
Okay, so and where can I get that information?
So,
See.
Madam Mayor, so what we have done in the past is provided what our actual FTEs were. That needs to be updated, but we haven't released that for 2025, but that's something that we can bring forward. If you look at the financial plan, the FTEs for each level of service is included now. So each component of the financial plan has how many positions are associated with each level of service. So that information is all within the financial plan.
So I have to research it.
No, it's actually in much more of a readily available format than it used to be. So there's more, I would say, reader-friendly charts in the financial plan than there used to be. So the financial plan is on this agenda, and obviously, like on many agendas over the last few months. But there's sections, they're colored and a little less black and white and hard to read than they used to be for the average person. So you're welcome to go in there and take a look and see the information.
Okay, and I'm talking about non-contract positions or predominantly. On the CEO position, I'm not sure now whether Andrew is acting CEO or is this a permanent position? And if it's I was hoping, and absolutely nothing against the CEO, acting CEO or whatever, does a good job in this finance, and I'm sure he would do a good job here. But I'm totally in favor of hiring from outside the district, like our last CEO. I think it's a fresh ears and fresh eyes with no affiliation with any existing people is always a positive thing. And I think it worked well with our last CEO. I'm sorry, he's going to North Van. That's my old home ground. So what is the position of the
Thank you. So
replacing the
yeah,
Mr.
so
Fox?
we did put out a press release on this for the information, but I'll go over. So council made the decision when Mike decided to leave to look at all of our options and ultimately decided to appoint Andrew as our CAO for just, I think, about a 1-year contract. So not a permanent installation of CAO, but making Andrew the CAO for that period of time. Several considerations to that, but I would say the main one is that we are in an election year, 2026, and we have gone through a formal search process for a CAO in an election year before, and we found that we were reasonably limited on candidates, that a lot of people don't like to move with an election a few months away. And a bit of other, feedback that we got when we did that last time was members of the public said there's going to be a new council elected. That council should get to choose their CAO. So the decision that we made put Andrew in this role and effectively gives both Andrew and the next council puts them in the decision-making seat to decide if maybe Andrew will be the permanent CAO. I think he'd be a fantastic permanent CAO. Or if council would like to go out to a search and Andrew applies, or if Andrew may not even be interested. It leaves the decision to the next council. So that was a very intentional decision, not to say that a search won't be done, but just pushing that decision out a little bit in order to make sure that we get best value for the city if we do enter into a search, which of course has a cost associated with it.
Do you see an advantage at all, or any council member, of hiring outside the community?
I will say that I don't. I think it personally is very much based on the person and their ability to do the job, and I think it's very much more so to do with the person than whether they're a local person or a new to the community person. I think Mike Fox did a fantastic job as our CAO. I think he would have done just as fantastic a job had he been born and raised in Port Alberni. So I don't think he was successful for that reason. I think he was successful because he was a hardworking and really smart person. Everyone's going to make that decision when the time comes next year based on their own criteria.
So we would have some good examples and bad examples as well. I won't add anything to that, it's just an opinion, but I think that's right. And the other thing about this supportive housing, when you do this tour, I'm not against that, but I did hear in the past that there's good supportive housing in some communities, and there's not so good ones in other communities. So this tour, I don't mean you personally, is the council selecting the good ones and not recognizing that some of the supported housing haven't been a good experience for the communities?
I think that's a great point, and the ones that were noted, I would say probably are the good ones. The good ones, if we want to make that determination, obviously. I think it's a great point that maybe there are ones that have not been successful that are worth looking at also. I think council could certainly direct to do that. What I would say is we should focus on comparable style supportive housing. A lot of the supportive housing buildings that have had problems that have been brought to me personally were like renovations that weren't purpose-built to be supportive housing. So I think that's an important distinction, is purpose-built, reasonably new, nonprofit operated supportive housing is what I assume we want to generally look at. I'm not familiar enough with, where the good or bad examples are to do that, to, say today what we should look at. But I think there's certainly an openness to look at some that people may have concerns with as well. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just as Councillor Haggard mentioned, South Nanaimo. So during the public hearing, go back. Some of us councillors took a tour of Nanaimo, and Cornerstones downtown Nanaimo was one that we took a tour of outside. In the public meeting, I asked BC Housing if that is comparable to what we're looking at for this project. They said yes. So that's why that's on the list, and then the others are kind of compiled. Councillor Haggard's got a good list, so.
I'm just wondering what you mean by comparable. I mean, we don't know what's comparable until we get involved and we get into the process. And so what is really comparable?
We do know what's comparable in terms of, size of build, purpose-built, staffing levels, overall funding from BC Housing. So I think we would probably look to BC Housing somewhat for some of those suggestions, and then staff can see what's possible from there.
Okay. So you will maybe look at the not so good ones too.
If you have any suggestions, we would be happy to hear them. Yeah, so, no, I mean, Neil, I'm just saying, if you have suggestions on ones that you think would be valuable, then by all means, please let us know and we'll see if we can include them.
Well, you would have the expertise on, I'm not going to go around checking these places. I don't even know where to go. So that is with the council to look at both sides of the picture and make a determination as what is best for the community. That hasn't always happened in the past, the meeting with the public. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Thank you.
Roseanne, come on up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for letting me speak today. I'm again speaking on behalf of our PRP, Right Place, Right Plan. We want we've had several meetings, and we really want to be able to work with council instead of having this, I don't know, butt against each other. We've, as you can see by the many letters you've received, we've done a lot of research and worked with a lot of people that have done this before. We have had no response from Outlook or Lookout. We have had response from some of you and nothing from BC Housing. Having said that, we do have a question regarding the topic brought up today by Deb, Councillor Haggard, sorry. And she did, I believe that we have to compare apples to apples, or McDonald's to McDonald's, or Burger King to Burger King. Because right now, I know for a fact that the supportive housing behind Costco is not comparing what we're having to, or that's proposed for us from BC Housing to the one behind Costco. They're not the same. My suggestion and my question is, are you going to look at housing that is, for one, low barrier, and two, staffed with 2 staff members, and 3, managed by Lookout?
I think it'd be fantastic to see one managed by Lookout. I actually don't share the opinion that Uplands Walk is not reasonably comparable. I'm extremely familiar with that site. I've been in it many times. I know many of the residents who live there. It's very low barrier.
Okay.
It is, however, extremely well run, and it is not run by Lookout. I don't know Lookout, but it is very comparable. And at many times throughout the day, there are no more than 2 staff members on there. So I think that one personally is worth touring. I think it's a really great example in actually a very upscale neighborhood of Nanaimo, and it is a positive contributor to the neighborhood.
Okay, I agree with you. I mean, if we could have a housing unit like that in Port Alberni that has that kind of management, that would be great. But the information we did receive is that the Lookout Group is not funded correctly and has no funding to support any more workers or more security on this site. And BC Housing has chosen Lookout for that reason to manage this facility.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't think that all of the information that your group is receiving is accurate. Funding
not.
levels are set by BC Housing, not set by the group, and Lookout is chosen because they're a discount group. That's just not the reality of how that process runs.
Well,
so I hear you. I would be happy for us to find a Lookout space
I can
on
find you
Vancouver
one.
Island and go find or go tour one of them.
Yeah, I'll be in contact with Councillor Haggard, and I will find you one that is in the same projected development as the one here from BC Housing, because our information that we got was very accurate. I'm hoping that you can get the same information about the management company.
I'd welcome you sharing that information with me.
Yeah,
And
I will share it
take
with you for
yeah.
sure. Also, I just have one more question. I just need an unbiased opinion from you. I need to know if you feel that low barrier housing, the way that it's been proposed to us at this point right now, will be a benefit in our community. And I also need to know if it's true, or if you figure it'll have a negative impact, being BC Housing, low barrier, staffing of 2, and managed by Lookout. I just want an unbiased opinion. I just want to know what you think. If you think that that will be a building that will be positive or negative impact in the neighborhood that it's proposed at.
I fully believe it will be a positive impact on the neighborhood. Otherwise, I would not have voted in support of it. So that is my personal stance. It will be a positive impact on the neighborhood. I think the neighborhood, and I know the neighborhood extremely well because I ran a business in it for a long time. right by this. In fact, I started my business with this project being public already. So I knew when I put my business in, and the community knew, that this potentially low barrier supportive housing project was going to go in there. I still opened my business there. I believe really strongly in this type of housing.
Oh, we do as well, but that's not the full question.
Sorry. I believe really strongly in this type of housing. I believe that this neighborhood has struggled for a long time with some of the challenges of homelessness, and I believe the neighborhood will be better with people housed rather than people living homeless in the area. So I understand the concern about it. I understand the fear. And I understand that that's where people are coming from. I'm certainly not accusing anyone of not believing in this type of housing. I understand that people don't necessarily want it in their neighborhood. As we are going on a tour of some of these buildings, I would hope that people who are concerned about it are also looking at some of the really positive examples of these types of buildings, how they've integrated into neighborhoods and how they've left a very positive impact. It's not to say that they're going to be forever without challenge, but the neighborhood is not currently without challenge. The neighborhood has a lot of challenges. And I don't for a second believe that housing people within a neighborhood where they're currently homeless is going to make it worse. I think it will make it better, and I feel very strongly about that. And anyone else is welcome to answer if you want to also.
The question really wasn't answered in full. I said, with the management team being Lookout with 2 staffing members, and what do you think of that with the information you've been given?
I don't have a lot of information on Lookout, and it's not council's job to choose the operator. I do actually, to be honest, the only example and interaction that I do have with Lookout actually has been a really positive one, and that has been in talking really closely with the mayor of Duncan about the tiny home village that goes on there, and Lookout is the operator of that. So that's not a comparable facility, but it is low barrier housing. So that's the only Lookout knowledge that I have. It's outside of council's purview to obviously look at who the operator should be. I do have confidence in BC Housing, though, because in our community, we have had concerns about a housing operator. We have brought those to BC Housing. They've done internal reviews. They've made effort to improve the situation, and when they couldn't, they cut the contract with the housing operator and put a new one in. So I feel confident working with BC Housing that should Lookout not be suitable for this, that our concerns as a community will be listened to and they will take action. I obviously hope that that's not the case. I don't have personal experience with Lookout, but I like to give somewhat the benefit of the doubt, and given that I think they have done a fantastic job on the tiny homes in Duncan, I certainly don't think that they are all bad. I do know that they have reached out to me for a meeting and are talking about, or they're coming to the community and they're
Yeah, we have a meeting with them on the 25th.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that. So I hope that we would welcome them to the community with an open mind. The type of work that nonprofit supportive housing providers do is not easy work. I think that probably the staff at Lookout, just like the staff of the operations that exist in our community currently, work extremely hard, and I would hate for our community to approach them as if they're bad. I've heard a lot of negativity about Lookout, and it's been really surprising to me given the type of work that they do, and given that BC Housing has chosen them for this project. So we've left that decision to BC Housing, but I do have confidence very much still in the model, and Lookout is not in any way impacting my feeling that this housing should be there.
So moving forward, when you're meeting with BC Housing, then you're saying that having them have management be Lookout if we provide more information, and if you tour the facilities in Nanaimo and Parksville, if you come across Lookout and the facilities not being run accordingly or to the likes that you'd like down here on 2nd Avenue, then would you approach BC Housing for a different management company?
We regularly meet with BC Housing when there are concerns with housing providers in the community. And if there was concerns here, we would absolutely be having those conversations.
Okay, so that would be part of the lease the drawing up of the lease, or that would be after the fact?
I have no reason today to tell BC Housing that we want a different provider.
So after the fact? I just want to work with you and just get it clear in our minds that what's happening, so we can move forward along with council and you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, I
as
would
well.
say after the fact, because at this point in time today, there's certainly no reason, in my opinion, to suggest that Lookout Society, a society that runs a lot of supportive housing in the province, you know, and I have heard from a mental health and addictions worker who has experience specifically with one of their facilities. You know, this is not my own experience, so I can't speak to it, but I've heard from somebody that has worked with them, that is an expert in the field, that like he's very aware of some like very positive examples of Lookouts housing. So we certainly do not have information that would in any way make me go to BC Housing at this point in time and ask them to find a different service provider. They've gone through their process. They welcomed bids. They welcomed bids from local community organizations as well. We don't have the information of how they chose Lookout, but they chose Lookout. My perspective is that we are supporting that decision, and it's not our decision to make.
Well, maybe we can meet sometime because we have some accurate information about that meeting. And Lookout has tiers of their supportive housing and what they provide at each one. Like if it's a supportive housing that has more support in it, they have a tier there. They have guaranteed us in this BC housing unit to have the supportive housing of 2 staff members because that's what they can afford. Now, it's going to come out somewhere. I'm just bringing it to you early. So I'm hoping that when you go and you look at facilities in Nanaimo, I can provide you with some that has Lookout providing management at that tier. I hope that you go and check it out and see what they're doing. Thanks. Thanks for letting me speak.
Councillor Mealy.
Thank you very much. I know it's question period. We usually don't question the people who are questioning us, but I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Gray, for coming. So did I get this correct? On the 25th, you're meeting with Lookout, or are you meeting with BC Housing? Okay.
Lookout.
Is that something that, let's see
Yeah,
here. So first of
it's
all,
a Zoom call, so we can invite anybody we like to.
Right, okay. So I wasn't going to, because I'm not the mayor, and I didn't want to say that people on council should be part of that, but is there any chance that we could get a report back? Or, I mean, I'd be willing to be part of the process, but I don't want to open it up for all of council. All of a sudden, you've got 7 other people on the call and that, and I don't want to, sorry, and I apologize, and I think I've said this before.
It's on Zoom, so
politicians get in the way a lot, so is there any chance we could get a report back or minutes or something like that? Because obviously you're going to meet with them, but we're not going to meet with them. Or we don't have any opportunity to meet with them just yet. We're going to meeting with BC Housing. So the mere fact that you got that meeting is great, and I would love to hear.
And we also
your take on
were wondering about a good neighbor agreement, if that's anything part of your lease agreement or you're considering it.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Sarah?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So BC Housing has moved away from good neighbor agreements. We recently worked through the process with them for the tiny homes on 4th Avenue. And what they're doing now is kind of a 3-prong. So it's called a letter of commitment, which covers off a lot of the same mechanisms that you would see in a good neighbor agreement. They also have a who to call document for the facility that they're talking about, so that the public and or others know who they need to contact if there's issues. And then thirdly, they have an operating management model that they share as well. So those documents, I know for the tiny homes, are going to be up on our website shortly, just so that the public can see where those are and what they include. And so that is the model that BC Housing is currently using.
Thank you.
And can we not say what works for us, or is it BC Housing's rules and BC Housing giving you a lease agreement? Can we not, as a community, give BC Housing a lease agreement for them to consider?
We will be negotiating a lease agreement, and that process does happen in camera. I know that we have offered with your group to meet with our staff and give your input before council considers that.
Okay, and that will be before the 7th. We're meeting on the 17th, so there won't be any decisions or meetings on the lease agreement till after the 17th of February.
It wouldn't be very productive for us to ask for your input and make a decision before.
Just asking the question, just clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon. First of all, let me say that the service reports that are being received now by council are excellent, and keep up the good work. I was just, a couple of thoughts is that consistency in the reports and the format probably be helpful, and also including the number of employees. We've spoken about this before. It was mentioned by an earlier speaker to have, as well as the financial information, how many employees, whether it be noses or FTE or whatever, be a consistent way how many people are in that report. I did notice in the Parks and Recreation report, there's a listing there of trail counters, another excellent move. Now you're getting some idea of how many people are using the trails. You know, for example, there were 491 people walked the Scott Kenney Trail on December 22nd. Well, to me, that's an amazing number. A couple of days before Christmas, almost 500 people walked that trail. But one thing that is interesting, four of the five stats, the Roger Creek Dolan counter and the Somas waterfront counter, the numbers are the same. 841, 841, and so on and so on. So I wonder if anybody has any understanding of why those numbers would be the same on those 4 of those 5 days. Is it just coincidence, or did the counter break down at the same time, or just an interesting, I don't really expect an answer.
That's
now,
a great question. I will just note that our trail counters have been in place for about 6 months. So I think this is the second, maybe even third time that we've had the numbers reported. And I don't recall them being the same before. So, you know, I think it's unlikely that they are exactly the same and that everybody just walked all of the trails. But yeah, good point. Thanks. We'll look into that and make sure they're all working still.
That just struck me being odd. Just further on the head count, in the budget, as your COA reported that the numbers are there in the FTE and that, I didn't, in my quick review of that, I didn't see where any had changed in the future 5 years. And I'm sure that some departments are planning to increase their FTE over the next 5 years, but just in my quick look, I didn't see any increases.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So to the question, there is no current approved increase to FTEs. That's why they're remaining the same. If there is a change, I would come to council for an amendment.
Okay. Okay. I would hope that somewhere council is provided with a summary report, a one-page Excel spreadsheet showing the FTE or head count or noses, whatever you want, not just today, but over the last 5 years by department. So you can ask those questions of your administration, of yourselves, what's the justification for those increases in those people or those changes in those people over the last 5 years? Just a reminder that, you know, 70% of the tax income is spent on salaries and benefits. So you can't control the rate of pay too much because it's collective agreements, but you certainly can control the number of people you hire. So I think it behooves you to know how many people you hire.
Yeah, I will just say, and further to Andrew's comment, that there are currently no, approved increases of FTEs, and so it's the change. There's no change shown in there. A few years ago, we changed the process so that all new positions come through council, and we have a process for that. So I would suggest that council knows every single new position that has been added over the last few years, and that those decisions are no longer just made at a staff level with staff putting in an operational budget, and we don't necessarily know that there's increases in roles. Council has reviewed all of those positions.
Okay. On the financial plan, there's a listing there. Let me just open it up. On the summary sheet of interest, penalties and miscellaneous, 2026 and 903,000. I look back in a little more detail under the fines and parking tickets part. 2024 actual was 405,000. the 2025 budget was a mere 17,000, and the 2026 budget, buried in part of that, is 262,000. So there's quite a variance in fines and parking tickets over the years. But I'm looking also at the building license bylaw. Recently, you enforced zoning bylaws for commercial space being operated as a warehouse. And I'm wondering if you're going to enforce the business license bylaw. Let me just quote some of it. Any person who contravenes a provision of this bylaw commits an offense and is liable upon summary conviction of a fine of not less than $1,000 and not more than $10,000. So a business license, I don't know what it costs, a couple of $100. If you don't have one, you're liable for minimum of $1,000. Then the fifth there, the Article 13.5, that says each day a person is in contravention of his bylaw constitutes a separate offense. So I take that to read you can be fined $1,000 a day for not having a business license. $365,000 a year. If you look at what the newspaper said, that for the Colson building, he hasn't had a license since 2013. That's some $3 million. So is the city going to enforce the business license bylaw? Or how do you determine which bylaws you're going to enforce and which ones you don't?
Great question. I don't know how we determine that other than we did prioritize bylaws a couple of years ago, and we set out on a couple specific ones that we wanted to enforce. But that doesn't always, they do come from other places as well, because sometimes it is complaint driven. Andrew, do you want to maybe add to that?
I think, when we have the capacity to undertake bylaw enforcement, we will. In all likelihood, we try to get compliance through bylaw. It's not that we're trying to bring the hammer. We'd rather work with the businesses, the individuals that are in violation, rather than have the bylaw offense. The penalties are essentially the last resort as far as trying to get compliance. So obviously, it's a balance between trying to make sure that our bylaws are followed and getting compliance. And then if we don't have any other option, we lead with the enforcement as far as penalties and fines.
Yeah, I gather that, and I know that, or I suspect that bylaw enforcement is largely driven by complaint. It's a reactive system rather than a proactive system. So the bylaw officers are not walking down the street and looking for people who don't have a business license, or looking for a place that isn't zoned according to some zoning, waiting for someone to complain. So I wonder what would happen in this case if someone were to complain that the business owner there, the property owner there, has not had a business license for 12 years. What would the city do then? Interesting thought. I don't expect an answer on that, but that's an interesting thought. CAO mentioned that you want to be reasonable and approach these things. And in the situation of the zoning situation that with Mr. Colson, and it's really unfortunate that the city weren't proactive in that thing, trying to avoid a situation. It's really unfortunate that some senior staff member, knowing this is coming up, percolating up through the bylaw group, had not gone down and had a heart-to-heart conversation with the building owner and said, look, let's not get this to council. Let's find some solution. If it gets to council, council's going to tend to uphold their bylaws. That's what they're there for. It's their bylaws. They have to uphold them. Turn a blind eye to their own bylaws is likely not going to happen. So if they're going to enforce the bylaw, you're not going to like this answer. So let's sit down and figure out some solution before it comes to a head, before it comes to a mess. before we start to look poor in the public eye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great comments. And I will just say on that topic that I know that our staff, not just with that specific property, because obviously over the last month or so, there's been others that have been discussed as well. I know that our staff have made great effort to talk to a number of building owners to try to avoid these situations being brought to council, to look for solutions first and to get into compliance. So I think that approach, proactive step has been taken. Sometimes the situations don't work themselves out, and sometimes coming to council is the start of them working themselves out, even when people aren't necessarily happy with the initial outcome. It does lead to conversations going forward about how changes can be made. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to chime in. First of all, Mr. Kangiser, thank you for coming. Thank you for your questions. I just want to just state on that, and I know Mr. Coulson was in the news the very next day, but his CFO was here and said during that discussion that they could go through the formal process. So the CFO was very with saying that in public, that the group would go to a full rezoning process. And I think council wanted to do that, obviously, and we had comments from the Uptown merchants as well in the positive for what that building is doing. So I think exactly what you just said, Madam Mayor, even though it did come to council, I think it does get the process on the way. Whether or not it's in the public eye or on the radio or anything like that, just the mere fact is I think it came to council and we have a direction we want to go, and at least the CFO was understanding and did say that the Coulson Group would want to go forward with that.
Yeah, I guess I just finally say that when the matter came to council, I find it unfortunate that information of trying to find a solution was not part of the council recommendation. It came into you, in my terms, cold. Here's a temporary use permit application and we're advising you to turn it down. No background information, no information that would indicate that you have tried to find a solution. It's just bang on the council agenda. Doesn't look good. Doesn't make you look good. And I used to say, I learned from an administrator years and years ago, the role of administration in a city or a school district where I was both, the role of administration is to make council look good. And the role of a council is not have administration look bad. It's a balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from other members of the public? Leslie? No, sorry, I'll go to Leslie first because Neil's spoken already, but I will come back to you, Neil.
Gosh, I hate this thing. Yeah, I'm shrinking, not growing. Leslie Walerius, Port Alberni, BC. I'm here because I'd like to talk about the agenda item reports from in camera, the August 11th, 2025, referring to the caretakers' residences. And I need this as a, yeah, okay.
Councillor Patola is recusing himself as he's the chair of the organization that's referencing.
Yes, I understand that. Okay, mostly I need this more as a learning opportunity because I don't know a lot about leases, and you spoke a lot about the Second Avenue lease, so I know you deal a lot in leases. I'm not sure what this is. When it says the August 11th and it goes on and says, oh, okay, I don't have it here. So what I would like to know, is it an announcement of a renewal or is it a new lease agreement and is it in effect? Either way, you can explain the process, could explain the process as it's almost been 2 years since the last agreement expired, which was March 31st, 2014.
I'll go to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So all agreements are considered in camera at council until such time that they are deemed to be publicly released, also decided by council and the CAO. So as you see items coming out of in camera. They may be from the week before, the previous council meeting, or it may be a number of months as the process works through. In this case, that is what happened. Council provided direction to renew the agreement with the Canadian Mental Health Association for the caretaker program, and we worked through that process until such time that it was negotiated and executed, and then at that time it gets released, which it shows on today's meeting.
So it's a renewal now and it's in effect? Is that what you're saying?
Madam Mayor, that's correct.
Okay. For it being in camera, originally, the first agreement came out, that was from April 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2024, and it actually was a staff report and it came out in a regular council meeting, along with the full lease agreement. So I'm not sure why they're in camera now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at that time, there was a decision. It was also around facilities when we had our facility report come forward. And so it was in a regular meeting for council to determine whether or not they wanted to proceed with renewal of an agreement for that caretaker program. Once it was determined that we would renew it, the lease negotiations went into in camera.
Oh, okay. Because in 2020, it was a regular council meeting and the lease was released through the agenda package. It wasn't in camera.
I would have to look back. I wouldn't have knowledge of that as I wasn't taking care of the lease at that time, so I would have to look back.
Okay. Because it was an in-staff report before and other lease agreements have been listed in your reports, they've stated terms, rental agreements, whether or not taxes and utilities are paid. And I notice this information is not in the agenda today. And could council please provide the missing information? And if there's a holding over clause in this lease agreement?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we do often provide different details depending on what the agreement is. Our public notification processes are subject to the community charter, so it would depend. And I could also say that anyone who wishes to have a copy of an agreement is more than welcome to fill out a Freedom of Information request.
Oh, okay. Done. All right. Referring back to my first question, I asked for an explanation of the process, as it's been almost 2 years since this last agreement expired. Can somebody please explain the process?
Madam Mayor, could I just get some clarification on what you mean by process?
Well, how does since it's a renewal because the old one ended, I'm assuming it's a renewal, not a new lease agreement. And I'm just wondering, how does it get started? You would think it would have started before it expired, and just why would it take 2 years?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Every lease goes through a number of different negotiations. And in this instance, and since we have, council has approved the municipal lease policy, when our leases come up, there's a number of considerations, particularly with the caretaker's residence. There were items that changed due to the facility assessment report. And also, we're looking at all of our leases, and Andrew can speak to this further if he likes, based on the value of provision. And with the caretakers, they are providing a number of duties. So it took us some time to work through what that was going to look like and different comparisons. Again, a lot of the lease explains that. So there's a number of items to consider.
Sometimes that's a number of council, reports coming to council to consider different options on how we may want to change the lease. Not for this, not speaking to this specific scenario, but there were, as you'll be aware, many public conversations going on over the course of that time about whether we would actually consider demolition of some of the caretaker
Yes, I remember
homes.
that.
So, those two things are happening alongside each other. Potential conversations for renewal while also looking at if we will have caretaker residences to renew. So there's delays that come as a result of that. But in any lease, council will usually have reports that come to us to determine if we want to, proceed as we have been or change the course. And that might be council asking for several different pieces of information before we settle on a direction and then start negotiations.
Okay, 2 years just seems like a mighty long time. It is almost 2 years since it expired March 31st,
Just
2024.
my comment is that it was, when we gave this direction, it was the August of 2025 meeting.
Actually, you gave direction to renew it in January 13th,
Thank you,
2025.
but it was August that this was discussed at the meeting, so.
Yeah, okay. In the original agreement, taxes and utilities were mentioned. Have water meters been installed at the caretaker's residence separate from the washrooms? And are the utility fees, water, sewer, garbage, being paid along with taxes, assuming the reference to taxes, property taxes? I'm not interested in the amount, just whether or not these were paid, and whether the meters were installed.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, the meters are not separate at this time. However, the details of the lease, I don't have in front of me, and so I'm not able to get into exactly what's being paid. I look at a number of leases every day. So again, if you would like to, you would have to fill out a Freedom of Information request.
Which I've done, yeah. Okay, so meters have not been installed, though this was mentioned in the April 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2024 agreement. So you're telling me for 6 years that the water meters have not been installed at the caretaker's residence?
We're telling you that there are not water meters installed, yes, separate water meters.
Wow, okay, good. Lastly, just one more thing, and this isn't a question. I looked up the original agreement, but I would think that you should check the residences' addresses to verify the correct addresses. So, thanks very much.
Are there questions from other members of the public? Mr. Anderson.
I'm pretty sure that this
Sorry,
question...
Mr. Anderson, we're just going to get Councillor Patola back in here. We forgot about him. Sounds like he's ready to go home.
Get the book.
Forgot what I was going to say. I think this is no doubt been brought up before, but I'm just sitting back there and I'm thinking, I don't know what the answer is, so I've got to know in my own mind. It's back to the supportive housing and the lease agreement. It may be part of negotiating the lease agreement, but what's the assurance that we have that the vacancies that are filled in this new building are filled by people from Port Alberni? And
Yeah, great
and what
question.
percentage, if it has, I'm sure that you've talked about this, and what percentage would you think is reasonable? Or are we going to inherit people from other districts, other municipalities, and we end up in pretty much the same situation that we're in?
Yeah, so I can tell you that that will be a part of our lease negotiations. That has been noted to council. I think council has heard that comment and expressed, alignment with it. So obviously council is not operating the facility, but in the lease discussions, I can assure you that that will be a part of our focus. Could I
get an indication, because I think the public should have some say in this too, should have a lot of say in this part of the lease agreement, is what you're thinking, the past examples that you've got that you're going to go and visit, and what you think for Port Alberni. What do you believe would be the outcome of the tenants that would be from Port Alberni and from other municipalities? This is really important in my opinion. You must have an idea of what you would expect out of the lease agreement.
I'm not sure that it makes sense for council to get specifically into it, but I guess I will just say that I expect that all of the residents will be Port Alberni residents or people with strong connection to Port Alberni, i.e. are from here but maybe have moved, things like that. But I don't know that we will get into that level of granularity in a lease negotiation. What I'm telling you is that it will be primary in our discussions with BC Housing and negotiations. Councillor Mealy?
Yeah, so BC Housing has a strong part in making that decision. And so you wouldn't sign an agreement without getting feedback from the public. If they come back, say 50% can be from other municipalities, that I would hope we wouldn't agree to.
Councillor
Would that
Mealy?
come back to the public before you sign that agreement?
Yeah, I'll tackle that. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate it. I mean, I think what you're saying and what the groups have been saying is they want people from Port Alberni to be
Yes.
taken care of. I think that's what council's saying. We want people from Port Alberni to be taken care of, or the West Coast as well. There's a lot of connections on the West Coast. So in the end, we can't tell them, you know, you have to have, you know, if somebody needs a house, they need a house. That's what it comes down to. Someone needs shelter, they need shelter. And if it's from Port Alberni or from Campbell River or somebody from Queen Charlotte Islands, whatever. I mean, they deserve somewhere to sit and somewhere to live and have a shelter. But I think we're all saying the same thing here is this building is going to be in Port Alberni. We'd like to take care of the locals. I think that's what we're saying.
Well, I won't get into it now, but I do have a big problem with that. I'm hoping that we deal with the people that are homeless in Port Alberni first over other municipalities. Not that they're not important, but nevertheless, big issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the public? Seeing none, would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor Mealy, second. Oh, that's right, motion to reconvene.
Sorry, yeah, the motion to adjourn the regular council meeting and reconvene in camera.
Yes, thank you. Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you.